Hello. So, how can brands work with startup?
How can brands work with startups? So you said? Yes. So there are many different ways for startups to get in with brands. I think that one of the best things to think about is what are business problems that you haven't been able to start solving internally yet with your incumbent vendors or your agencies or other partners. And there's so much innovation happening outside of your walls now that you can start to think, how do I translate my creative brief or my strategic brief or my media brief into a technology brief? What areas of technology can start to amplify results and ultimately move my business forward? I think one of the mistakes that a lot of brands are making is that they're thinking about the innovation ecosystem as either just a PR vehicle. Let's chase a shiny object, do something first, and get some notice for that, and we'll be thought of as innovative. And that can be a way to create a splash, but then there's no follow-on, and you're not getting budgets for that because it's not driving business results. So if you think about this with a bit of a methodology and think about how do I actually drive value in my business, then you'll tend to be much more successful. And I think that there are two types of innovation to think about. First, there is working with technology companies and startups for sustainable innovation. And so this is the idea of how do I move my business results forward, right? My current campaigns, my media plans, how do I get some incremental improvement? How do I drive more efficiencies? Things like that. So sustaining the work you're already doing in better ways, a better mousetrap, if you will. But then it's really important to think about transformative or disruptive innovation. You think that Airbnb could never have been created within Hilton or Marriott, right? And Uber never would have come out of a transportation or a taxi company. Amazon never would have come out of UPS or FedEx, right? And so you as a brand have areas of your business where you might be getting disrupted. Don't necessarily be afraid of those people. Or you might have areas of your business that are opportunities that you're not doing yet. And there is some innovator who's out there basically getting their PhD in that area that you don't have time to focus on. How do you bring them in for a partnership? Don't even necessarily think about investing, but how do you bring them in for a partnership and start to drive real quantifiable business value with the use of a strategic alliance with somebody that is driving forward enterprise value?
Great. Do you have an advice for brands to approach startup?
For brands to approach startups, there are a couple different ways. I mean, you're probably already getting a lot of cold calls and cold emails of incoming startups that want to work with you. Don't let that make you think that, oh, well, we're a big known brand. Everybody that we need to know about is going to come knocking on our door, because that's not necessarily true. There are some amazing companies out there that don't have great sales teams or just aren't doing a good job of PR. It doesn't mean that they're not solving your problems. So a couple different ways to think about starting to work with them. One is to develop an accelerator or an incubator in-house, if that makes sense for you. And there's some great partners out there like Techstars, who's running Disney's accelerator, and others who can help you get that set up. Another way is to think about doing some tentpole innovation programs. Think about how you bring in stakeholders around the company, a couple different brands, for example. We did one recently for Unilever called Go Global. They had 7 different brands with 7 different briefs. Each of them wanted to focus on a different area of innovation in a different market. So we looked across 30,000 possible tech companies, got it down to 14 finalists, 2 for each brand, brought those finalists to Mobile World Congress, where we had a big pitch session and deep dives for 2 days, and 7 winners of those briefs each got $100,000 for a paid pilot to move forward with each of those 7 brands. Putting a stake in the ground, getting the top decision makers from each of your groups, stakeholders, and carving out some budget. that says we're really serious about this. We want to work with tech companies, and we recognize your value. So let's start doing this in a big way. And out of that came the Unilever Foundry, which is now an ongoing, smaller version of this, where they're putting out briefs on a regular basis in a more scalable way. The third way that you might think about starting to work with startups is to create the opportunity for open innovation. And so you might not have the budget or even the resources for a tentpole program like I just described. So think about, how do we start to seed this through our company? Maybe there are incremental ways that we can start putting innovation thinking into our business. Sometimes it makes sense to put somebody in Silicon Valley, somebody in San Francisco and that's there in the community. Sometimes it makes sense to have scouts. I mean, that's one of the things we're doing at Kite quite a bit, is we're helping to bring on-brand or on-strategy opportunities and potential partners to our brand clients. And so there are a number of resources out there that can help you to start to dip in very strategic ways, and get outside of the noise of all of those cold calls and coming to South by Southwest or CES and getting completely overwhelmed by all of the options.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.